Thank you for staying with us. With the Naira gaining strength by the day and exchanging for around 900 Naira against the dollar, there are indications that the Naira will continue in this trend, gaining more strength against other currencies. But this may be good news for a vast population of Nigerians. Speculators of foreign exchange may not be pleased with this development. This means that Nigeria's forex market is on its way to a gradual recovery. The Central Bank of Nigeria also says the pressure witnessed in the forex market will ease soon, as it has already started clearing the backlog of dollar obligations amounting to $7 billion. Joining us in the studio is Mukhtar Mohammed, CEO, Finance with Mukhtar. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Now, this Nigerians are,
We're smiling.
It's you that is actually
smiling. Yeah, I'm smiling because you see what we said. Maybe the authority were listening. Remember in your last program, I said the challenge has nothing to do with whether you give dollar. It all has to do with liquidity.
Right.
And you need to do those payments. And I think it's early days, but we are seeing a focus. CBN government, the governor, but or his management team seems to be not too much noise. We just hear the actions taking place, not the noise, oh, we are doing it in 2 weeks' time, we are doing it in 3 weeks' time. There seems to be no more noise from the CBN. The only noise we hear now is action.
Action, and that's a good thing.
That's a very good thing.
But then the concern is, you said early days.
Yeah, early days.
Because this is not the first time we have seen the CBN defend the Naira. And we still come back to a situation where there is still a decline in the status of the Naira. So talk to us from that perspective, what you're expecting to sustain this move by the CBN.
I think we should give them commendation, because sometime last week by this time, or is it last week, or maybe early 2 weeks ago, we're having 1,300 for the exchange. And for it, we're just talking about the parallel market.
Yeah. Because
that seems to be what the barometer every Nigerian thinks we want to use to measure the strength of the Naira. And today we are doing 900, and I mean, there's a tendency to go low. If they can achieve that within 3 weeks, that's very good. Then going forward, what do I expect from them? The challenge has always been, like you say, has not always been, not been that we cannot create that stability. We always create that stability. But when there is a major external shock, maybe foreign reserve, maybe oil price goes down, maybe we have to do one thing or the other, or the crisis coming, global crisis, we now lose grip of whatever we've been able to sustain, because we've not been able to build enough reserve to be able to sustain the external forces. So I think what they should do, what I'm looking for is a CBN that will keep on building the reserve. Funny enough, the president has proposed a budget of about 70 something Naira per barrel, which makes it, and we're having oil almost 95 Naira $95 per barrel. They proposed about $74 per barrel. So we have extra. Will we be able to save it? We should. Now, the monster that always drill our reserve is gone. That is subsidy. So hopefully we'll begin to see that stability maintained. Now, what the CBN have done thus far is to use it, what I call it, two-edged sword, to address these liquidity issues. They fall in the state of the Naira. One, they use the liquidity issue to come in, make sure they have liquidity, especially obligations to banks. They've done it especially to some of the foreign banks that we have in Nigeria. And most of those foreign banks are the banks that most foreign investors, direct investors, portfolio normally come through. So they've been able to stabilize that. They've paid them. Now we're waiting for them to begin to settle other banks that mostly Nigerians use for their transaction, PTA, school fees. Once that comes in, then we will see the Naira return very, 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 very strong. So looking at it now, I think it looks good.
But, these two issues and the twin interventions of the central bank, when you look at the enormous challenges before them, the state of the reserves, the foreign reserves, as well as the enormous backlogs that need to be cleared, while encouraging, how much of a daunting task do you see it before the central bank at this time? Because that also remains, a paramount worry for some.
As I said, early days, We borrowed, I mean, we don't know how the $10 billion have come from. We've already borrowed $3 billion through the NNPC.
Government is saying is also expecting like $10 billion
cash
flow.
That's that cash flow. So with the minister did not tell us whether that cash flow is going to come in sense of borrowing, or is a cash flow that comes from a. Then secondly, again, if you look, our reserve has been improving for the past 3 weeks. We've seen the reserve goes up, which is good news also. Sustaining it, you see, when you're in a critical challenge, as it is now, the major issue is how do we save the Naira? When you save the Naira, it affects every area. It brings down inflation, cost of living comes down, then you attract foreign direct investors, you attract portfolio investors, Nigerian diaspora begin to have confidence in their currency. So you are settling the side of liquidity. Now, you are now you see when I say double-edged sword. Once they address the liquidity, now if you say you are hiking rate, now to attract foreign investors and to mop up liquidity to bring down inflation, it makes sense. You don't just go like what we're seeing before. You go, you hike rate, then you allow the Naira to continue to fall. And you think the problem has to do with you need to hike to mop liquidity. So for me, that's a daunting task for them, like you said now. Now, that tax is not only in their hands. Unfortunately, they are the monetary policy. The fiscal side have to do things to attract those investors, to attract the flow of effects into the economy, to make sure that we have stability in the sale of our crude oil. We're able to meet our quota. So when you are able to do that, then you attract liquidity, and then your reserve will be robust. There was a time the reserve in this country was about $100 billion at the time President Goodluck Jonathan at the point. But unfortunately, we didn't manage it well. So we had those challenges. So I hope now we'll see if CBN governor that could be able to manage our reserve and then create that stability. Now, in the long run, you don't expect that thing to happen immediately. Number one, if you want to create that robust reserve, the non-oil sector needs to be very active, so that when there is shock in the oil sector, the non-oil sector would have attracted those liquidity into our system. So first save the Naira, then you begin to put the structure, you begin to lay the foundation for a robust economy. And like the CBN governor have said, I'm not going to be involved in what going to the physical side. I want to involve my core area of monetary policy. So if they're able to achieve their own monetary policy, is not on the physical side to begin to address their own issues, to attract investors and also to get confident in the economy.
Now, where does this leave speculators? Because yesterday we were having this conversation where Bureau de Change operators are saying, well, this is not a good time for speculators, those who are hoarding dollars and all of that, looking for when there will be perhaps an increment or something. And where does this leave the speculators, and how can the government perhaps put a grip on their activities at this point?
You don't stop speculators. Speculators are part of market forces. You can never stop speculators. They are the dynamics. They are the ones that make the market interesting. In every sector, a financial sector, there are always speculators. But what you do is that they get their finger burned if you know what to do rightly. Now, a lot of people must have bought dollar at about 1,300, thinking, oh, it's going to get to 2,000 Naira. Remember the last time I came here, I said the challenge the government has is that they've allowed the speculators to have a free ride. So the only way they have to do is to fight the speculators. And I think they've been able to do that now. And the way they could fight it is to inject liquidity. And we must know something is that the foreign exchange market still remains the largest transaction market in terms of FX.
Right.
But because of the demand and supply side in the bureau de change or the parallel market, it's always very difficult. A lot of Nigerians don't do those high ticketing. The $20 million or the $10 million. The people that are looking for just $5,000, there are many. There are more than those that are looking for $10 million, $20 million. Those are the ones that goes to the parallel market. And in this parallel market, then there is that demand is high, then supply is low, then the price jacked up. Now, how do you deal with speculators? They've done one, they've injected liquidity into the system. Secondly, they need to also begin to know who are the real bureau de change people. We don't have a situation whereby, like the president of the association said, Lawan Gwadabe said one time that most of the people you see on the road are not their members. Their members have their own offices where you move in, you do documentation, and you get. But what we've seen is that those you have on the road are the ones that will lead you to their own members, and some of their own members are the ones that give those on the road FX to go and sell. Right. So they need to address that issue. And like he said the CBN is already doing that, and the security agents will soon be clamping down on them. Now, you can clamp down on them. You know, the last time I said you can clamp down on them when you have liquidity. And so with this liquidity now in the market, they can begin to clamp down on them. Then we could have a robust exchange, foreign exchange market. Now, they've involved the banks. So that's another fantastic way. The previous administration was not ready to involve the bank. Now, it's now left for them to see how they can monitor the banks. Because the challenge is always been monitoring, because you now have the round tipping. Remember, the parallel market came as a result of round tipping from the banking sector, the financial sector. When they give them FX, they round tip them. So that's when the government came on. Let's create another market for small investors where they can walk in, seamlessly get their dollar and move. So now with what we are seeing now, if they are able to build that market, then we'll begin to see what is obtained in foreign countries, whereby I could walk into the bank, do my transaction, and come out. I don't have to come in from the airport and somebody's showing me calculator and showing me, no. I think that's not good.
And the issue of the banks too, or will I say bankers now, is also, another point I want to build on, because observers in reaction to this, strengthening of the Naira move now have said the problem is with, the bankers. I don't know whether you want to categorize them as part of speculators, but the problem is with them, the way they manipulate the import and export window and all that. And then there's also the other concern as to where this positives that we are seeing, where it leaves the manufacturers.
Well, for the manufacturers, I think it should be good news, because if the parallel market, you see, what we're trying to do, you create competition. And when there is competition, there will be price war. And when there's price war, definitely sometimes it comes to your advantage. Now,
because of availability of Forex for the use of the manufacturers. Are they covered?
No, that's what I'm saying. They are covered. The 43 band item can access FX. Okay. That's one good news. Even if I feel that there are some things that the government should still have said, look, you can't access IFX. If you are importing toothpick, I don't see why you should access FX. So some of those things. But again, I think it boils down, it will all end in the hands of the CBN. What are you going to do? Are you going to monitor the banks? How are you going to monitor the bank? What kind of system? But the best way to monitor is technology. So do they have that technology? You remember that we just have a new CBN management. The people that have been in CBN are still there. So they need to come up with a strategy. And I think they should work on that. Now, for the manufacturers, what I said is advantage for them is if they go to the parallel market now, where they used to buy at 1,200, they get it at 900, it's still to their advantage. If they decide to fill the Form M and get it at 890, it's still an advantage for them. Now, let me tell you the challenge they have is once the difference between the foreign exchange market, official foreign exchange market, and the parallel market is not much, then there seems to be a convergence. And once there's that convergence, people don't care whether I have it this way or I have it this way. That creates competition. And there was a time that we don't even go to the bank to collect FX any longer. You prefer to go to the parallel market because sometimes the parallel market was even cheaper than what you get in the bank. So we need to begin to look at that. The bank should be a major player, not being a source of competition that obstructing the system, tipping. And I think that boils down to the CBN. The CBN need to do their work very, very well to address that area. I agree that the financial sector, the banks have been one of the culprits, because even there was a particular time when they came up with PTA, FX, and you go to bank and CBN say we supply them enough to give, and you go, they say they don't have. Then you are there, you see some people could have, then some people will not have. So the CBN came and created a system whereby you fill for your FX online, and they will now send you a mail that we have seen your request and we have approved your request. So with that approval, you take that approval to the bank. And it started working before we got to the issue whereby there was no more liquidity. So technology has been applied, and we've seen those results. I hope they work on it, improve upon it. And let's see this market become slimless, devoid of corruption, devoid of sharp practices. These two sectors Nigeria need to address to move our economy forward. You address sharp practice oil thief in the oil sector, and you address the foreign exchange market, our economy will definitely be on a high.
Now, the matter of confidence in the Naira is, even as much as it is gaining as against the dollar, because we've seen that over time now, our economy has been dollarized, so to speak. But as it is gaining, do you think Nigerians will still have repose some confidence in the Naira?
Let me tell you something. I keep telling Nigerians, and I think maybe I've said it on your program, the only time you get value for the dollar, for the Naira, what they don't know is only when they change it back to the Naira. Let me give you an instance. If you have a dollar in your house and you're keeping the dollar and you're not doing anything, the only time you're excited about the dollar is when you see that the dollar is gaining against the Naira. Right. If you have dollar and you're keeping it in your house and it's not, it's not gaining against the Naira and it's not gaining the area of the dollar in terms of investment, you are losing money. Because inflation in America or others in this country is about 10%, 10 to 12%. So if your dollar is not generating between 10 to 12%, you're not making anything. So you're just holding it. You're just hoarding it. So the only time they have value for their money is when they now change it to the Naira and they say, oh, I bought it at 500. I'm now selling at 800. That's the only time they get value for it. So, but they don't think of it like that. They just say, oh, we have the Naira. But when you take that dollar outside to spend without generating 10% inside at that dollar, then you are losing money. So definitely, we will see what we are seeing now is panic. Okay. A lot of people that have dollar now are beginning to getting scared that, oh, I bought it at 600. I thought it was going to get to, I need to go and cash out. Okay. So that's the way. So most of them are now coming back, changing the dollar.
Injecting it back into
the system, changing it back to Naira. So definitely, the Naira is still the currency for those that want to make profit. It's only for those that are paying school fees at a particular time. If you have the dollar or you are traveling, you have it at 600 or 700, you say, oh, thank God I still have it. I want to travel. I still have enough dollar before there is stability. But for those that are speculators or profit or for businesses, if you are not investing the dollar to generate a dollar income, the only time you can have value for that dollar is to change it back to Naira.
Interesting.
And how realistic is that? Because, well, and on the other hand, I also feel that, the issue of reposing confidence in the Naira, it is automatic. If people see CBN as being very credible in this regard, all those hoarding dollars, this would be the best time for them to also help in injecting the market and, thereby strengthening the Naira. But JP Morgan and Chase is, projecting that by year end, the Naira will stand at 850 to the dollar. I don't know how realistic that is from your estimation.
I think it's a realistic, even if the government says 750, and they are saying 850, so we are having a conversion. I believe strongly that the Naira we will definitely recover in the first quarter of next year. We'll have that stability in the Naira by first quarter of next year. I believe so strongly. I also think that the exchange rate currently, even at the foreign exchange market, is still not a true reflection of the Naira.
It's not.
It's not, because I still believe that it's 800 and something. The Naira shouldn't be trading at that, but market forces are still the ones in charge of that space. So you are seeing it at 8. By the time it got to 990, even when the parallel market was coming down at the official market, it went to 990 before closing, I think, at 880 now. So definitely, I totally agree that as it stands now, the Naira is undervalued to the dollar. So with the coming in of liquidity, and remember, JP Morgan was at a point saying that before the end of the year, the dollar will exchange for 1,500. So that was fuel a lot of people now going to get the dollar. Oh, it will get, and it got to 1,300. People are saying, wow, it's getting there. And now we are back to this 280. I totally agree.
What's the true value of the Naira?
I think I agree with the government that said between 700 to 750. I think I agree with them. Okay. Because we're looking at floating, we're looking at our reserve. If we have a robust reserve, there's nothing. I mean, why should the dollar be exchanging to 750 to the Naira? But when we don't have those reserves now, you don't leave your currency to market forces. You would definitely have to intervene to save your currency.
Okay, but in all of this, the average Nigerian will tell you are speaking grammar.
Yes.
How does that reflect on goods, items, feeding, and all of that?
It will start reflecting.
Right. When?
It will start reflecting. I expect as soon as, I mean, it depends. But you know, the Nigerian will say, what goes up never come down. That's a big challenge.
Yes.
And that's why sometimes I was in support when the president said we are going to have a price control mechanism. Yeah. Whereby we say you can't sell beyond this price. So it's all about the Nigerian now, the mindset of the Nigerians, the traders. Some of them that got it. You see, it's going to be a big challenge. Because why I'm saying soonest is because some of these people still got this exchange at 1,300, 1,200, and those goods may have not been sold. And after those goods finish, those goods are sold, they will still have to now bid to get it at a lower rate. So we expect at the second inflow of these goods, that's when you begin to see those goods come down. But again, there are a lot of factors when it comes to that. It has to do with demand and supply. Now we are going to the festivity period. Exactly. We expect that the bag of rice will come down. If the locals are producing and the foreigners are bringing in at a good exchange rate, fantastic. So there's a lot of things that will happen, but it will not just happen overnight, but it will happen. We will see goods coming down drastically. It will be difficult to just get it because there's the other factors, which are called the Nigerian factor. Cost of transportation, fee that you pay from the ports. There are other things, tariff. They are not coming in free. So there are other things that normally jack up these prices. Right. Then time also is very, very important because a lot of people will say, look, why I prefer the parallel market is because if I go to the to get it from M, it takes almost forever because I'm on the queue. So I think what the CBN will do is to see how we can have seamless with from M, and also the parallel market, the broader change was for small investors. Those people that want $1,000, $2,000, that's why they gave them office in the airports. People that are going, just need 1,000 or 2. They should make sure those are what is obtainable. If they want to pump in liquidity, in partnering with the BDC, they should do it. But again, they must have the money. A situation whereby we got to where we were was even when CBN was giving them about $200 million every week at an exchange of about 360 at that point. They started moving it from there till about 500, and that was when the then CBN governor became upset and said, we revoke your licenses. So we need to even still see how do we control the BDC. Yeah, they must operate.
That the CBN bring them in.
Yes, they have been asking, but they must operate within the law. Right. They must be ready to operate within the law. And again, remember that now, for you to even have access to FX, you need to show your tax return. So how are you going to put the BTC to make sure that those people that are coming for FX also will have the same documentation you go through the bank? So those are things that the CBN need to work at. And if they're able to get it right and know the real BDC, and then the security agent begin to clamp down on those that are on the streets, then we'll begin to see it.
So it still comes down to sanitizing the system.
You see,
But yes, yeah. In addition to what you will say, I just want to know what basic advice you will be giving. You'll be giving now to people. Euletide is here already. People have already bought goods and will necessarily want to make gains and all that. But basic advice now that Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians, can run with. What will that be for you?
Well, for now, we still have to make do with what we have. I mean, goods will not come down, but they need to be a little bit patient. But I don't think the ordinary Nigeria is the main challenge. we should be talking to the traders, those that are dealing on these goods, to also look at the nation itself and look at the profits. But when you're in business, you think of profit.
Absolutely, because they were, like you mentioned earlier, that they got the dollar at a particular rate, maybe 1,300.
Yeah,
and they used it to buy goods.
So they wouldn't want to run at a loss.
Yeah, so the problem, the only challenge to the other Nigeria is still going to, it's not going to, when the exchange rate come down, you know, at a point where jokingly saying you go to the market, you want to buy something, the woman that is selling something on the street said, na dollar cost.
Exactly.
So that should be off now. We're not yet na dollar cost. Dollar has gone down. But again, like I said, we still have a very, very long way to go. We should celebrate what we've been able to achieve from 1,300 to about 900. That is huge.
Who are even the biggest winners at this point now? Is it still too early to determine the biggest?
I think the biggest winners still, I think for now, is the Nigerian, the CBN are the biggest winner because they've been saying it over and over that speculators will get their fingers burned, speculators will get their finger burned. Finally,
looking like it. Right.
Anyway, we have to wrap up this conversation now. CEO Finance with Mukhtar Mohammed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My pleasure.